advertising and all that is, I mean, it's had to have changed now with the rise of social media, and I mean, is print and all that still really relevant these days now that you've got social media with what it is?
Depends.
Um,
I think there's a place for everything. That it's going to phase out,
Yeah.
but you still have your 55 plus, 60 plus now probably at this point demo that prefers to read.
Yeah.
But what's the accessibility of it? And
Right.
will they read it online? I still consider online articles print ads, just in a different format.
Gotcha.
But I think that when you're talking about, there's definitely a difference in the way things are consumed. But it's one of those things about going back to basics, at least I found in my experience, because obviously I market and advertise for brands I build on Punchline, right? And the basics for me were always tell the story, connect with the people. So I prefer and think that lifestyle resonates better than head on apply directly to forehead type ads, right?
Mm.
So like one of the ones that always sticks out in my brain that I love to reference, kind of mold and model things around, is the old Butterball.
Okay.
So an old Butterball commercial, like late 80s, early 90s, would be like a family playing football in the yard, and there's leaves all around because it's fall, and they're sitting around the table, and there's laughter, and you're like, man, I want to be a part of that family. And at the very end, it just says Butterball. Shit, that's the key. I need that
Just
turkey.
need that turkey.
Like if I want that life, I need that turkey.
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of how I think about things. And that's why I say I always commercialize things, because somebody will talk or do something, and to me, I can run a commercial in my head instantaneously and be like, oh, that's how I would. That would make me feel the way that our conversation just made me feel. So when I come up with an ad or a brand build, like one of the things we're working on now. So besides running shows on Punchline, what I feel sets us apart as a network is that we build the brands beyond the shows. So you have your show, but what's going to bring value to that show? Why do A, people want to watch it, and B, companies want to be a sponsor and be involved in it? And that is if that name gets bigger. And it's always been in my mindset that it's less expensive to create a brand than it is to buy a brand. So in other words, I can make YouTube famous way cheaper than I can go buy someone who's already famous to do a show. So if I have to pay a talent fee out to Ozzie Smith, and Mr. Smith, I don't know what your rates are,
Right.
but worked with him a lot of times, gracious dude. Like anytime you run into that guy, he'll use your first name once he learns it. Just a really classy guy. But he's got a price tag because people want him as a commodity, right? And so like let's say that he was doing a show and his talent fee was $4,000 an episode, whereas you don't have a talent fee currently. I don't have a talent fee currently.
Right.
So $100 in my pocket makes sense to me, right? And so now I can go out and build that brand. So what we're doing now is back to Punchline. So we also work with Cam Jansen, has a show called Conversation on there, and he does more like micro dirty jobs type stuff. And Jim Campbell does a show called Soup du Jour. His nickname was Soupy. So we're
Another
taking
former hockey.
yeah.
Both-
These
I'm
are-
kind of like you. I'm kind of
both
like you. I
guys.
don't know a ton of.
So
ton of-
yeah, Cam Jansen followed. So it went Tony Twist, Chase,
Chaser,
Twist.
Twist.
Reed, and then Jansen was towards the end of Reed's career,
They
and
played
then
a little bit together.
yeah, and then Jansen, and then I guess that would have run into Ryan Reeves.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't remember him.
So
Yeah, outside of MMA, I know very professional athletes.
Well, and then they're all good buddies with Tony Twist, who's
Yeah.
like that's like the big uncle of it.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Him and Chaser were like the big dogs.
the big guys.
I mean, the Cam grew up watching those dudes, and that's why
like I remember Cam
got it.
Jansen. Like I don't remember any of the old guys. I mean, I was born in '93, so
Oh,
Yeah. So that Chase and Twist would have been.
yeah, before
You
my
would have
time.
been. You would have been a baby when they were. Yeah.
are you
They were
closer
in
to
the-
my age?
I'm 36.
Oh, so you're both kind
Yeah,
of young guys.
I was 88, but I got towards the end of Chase and Twist's
Yeah.
career, and then got to see Reed's full career and Cam's full career.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so we work with all those dudes.
Okay.
And so 2 Men in a Garden, gracious enough to help us create a barbecue sauce line. So bare knuckle barbecue,
Sweet.
right? Is so each of the guys have their own flavor.
Oh, that's cool.
and it's based off their names. Like, kind of work in progress, but these are basically Twisted Sauce.
Okay.
We twist, right?
Yep.
Sweet and Low, Reed and Low. Cam's Bam Bam Sauce.
Okay.
And then Soupy, ever the comedian. He wants to do maybe something a little offset, so we might do like a Soupy Sriracha.
Okay.
Something, right?
All
So,
right, cool.
but that's how we're branding outside of that. So that's static income for us. Because then all they have to do is go out and do some autograph signings for some bottles 2 or 3 times and gets their name out there. It's cool for the community because they
Yeah.
get to meet these people, hang out, and these dudes are all incredibly gracious. They love their fans and town mates. I mean, they all stayed here in St. Louis. You know, Cam's from here, but they'll tell you firsthand, like, it's the love that they get from everybody, that why they love being here. So it's a chance to give back, and then part of that will go to charity, part of that will go to us, and it's a cool little deal. Riser United, another company I work with, they send us gear, and then we have our own portal. So on riserunited.com, you can go in and you can shop anything in the store under Punchline, and you'll get 15. Right now, you get 20% off of everything, and then Punchline makes a very small percentage on the back end of everything you buy through us. So not only do you get that discount, but we make a little that way too. And those are great partnerships because there's no skin off anybody's back, but we get to push stuff out and grow our brand and help other brands and help other people interact with the community that we love. And so it's really a win-win for everybody. And so I took my marketing and advertising background and just brought it into media world. So
Of today, coming from
Yeah.
TV and radio, which is not as big as it once was, in my opinion, because of shows like podcasts and all these like independent forms of media, and you're like taking these older concepts of in radio and TV and bringing them to like
New age.
Yeah.
stuff.
kind of
Which is why I say
Smart.
stay into the basics.
yeah,
Right?
it's awesome.
Like, yeah, maybe you'll never convince me that there's been a better player than Jordan. But whatever it
that's
is the game has evolved, but you still got to dribble the ball. You
Right.
still got to shoot the ball. Like, the basics are all the same. Football is the same way,
Still 10
right?
players on the court.
Right. Like, Mahomes may very well pass up Brady as the GOAT.
Sure.
Right? If
Keeps up.
if they win this year, it'll be the only team in NFL history to win 3 Super Bowls back to back. Few teams have won 2.
Mhm.
Nobody's ever won 3. Like, it'd be nuts.
Yeah.
Automatic GOAT status right there.
Yeah.
So he's evolved as a player. Even Brady during his career evolved, and he talks about like how he takes care of his body.
Mhm.
Right? Like, the longevity wasn't there. Like,
You should
people were
have done jujitsu.
without a health.
Had the same. Might still be married to Giselle.
Yeah,
They'd have the
maybe.
same-
Yeah, I was gonna
same-
say she left him for a jiu-jitsu coach.
He's like, you want to fight for it? He's like, I don't.
Yeah.
Actually, I just
Don't,
want to
yeah.
put my legs on and go in here
Yeah.
and not eat tomatoes.
Right. And not eat tomatoes.
Those are 2 things
Forgot
he
about
does.
that. Yeah, he
Yeah.
doesn't need any nightshades, right?
Yeah.
Funny.
So, yeah, maybe he should have been tougher. But the basics stay the same. So I just try and apply those same principles. Plus, I'm like a grassroots dude. Like, I've always believed in the power of like getting in somebody's face. Roofing companies, for example, like nothing beats a door knock.
Yeah. Well, that's why we won't do, because we've had people, and I've had people reach out from different parts of the country that want to like zoom in, and we're like, no, if you want to do the show once you're here in person. That's how we're doing our show. Is everything's gonna be face to face.
Yeah. Yeah, I've not done any virtuals yet either. A lot of people do that.
I've
Yeah,
done
they do.
I've
I just-
done a virtual with somebody in Kansas City on his, and I was like, yeah, it was fine, but I don't know. I like this better.
Yeah.
Much better.
Next, there's a vibe you get when someone's in the room. You sense body language.
Right.
And, with the Zoom, I feel like there's like a little bit of a delay with like the audio, and I don't know. Just I like it better in person.
Yeah. And it feels like you're just watching somebody's meeting.
Yeah.
To
Right.
me.
Uh huh.
I don't want to sit down and watch it.
Like I want to sit down like we're just hanging out. I want to
Right.
I want to know what it is to hang out with Corey for an hour and a half.
Right.
Like, that's what I want.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, for us, like with our branding and stuff that we've done with the show, obviously we've got social media stuff that we do and post on, but we've sponsored some jiu-jitsu matches, professional matches. What else have we done? We've got it's sponsoring the hockey league that I play in on Wednesday
Oh, yeah,
nights. It's
yeah.
on the website for that league.
What's your hockey league you playing?
It's at Brentwood. It's just it's not associated, like, so Brentwood has the BHL, which is an adult men's league. But this is just some guy that used to play in the BHL went and bought 3 hours worth of ice on Wednesday nights, so he just owns that slot. And he created his own league, 30 and up, and it's yeah. I mean, it's a pretty solid league. There's some good players in there. So
30 and up though sounds like a lot of injuries waiting to happen.
believe it or not, there's not. I mean,
Really?
because we're not. It's no check. I mean,
Oh,
you
okay.
can.
Light check.
Yeah, you just can't like finish.
Come in there
guys.
being an asshole. Yeah.
Right.
It's a
So
gentleman's
yeah,
check.
and everybody's out there.
I was like, because on skates, you're probably what, 7 foot tall?
pretty close. Yeah.
You're a giant. You'd probably be a circus bear on
Yeah.
skates. I'd be
So-
terrified of it.
Circus bear.
So yeah, but that's the thing is everybody just wants to come out and play and skate. Nobody like we all got to get up and go to work the next day. Nobody wants to. Nobody's out there trying to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And if there is, they get put in their place pretty quickly. Not just by the other team, but by the guys on their team because they know it's going to get retaliated.
Mm.
And so, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah. I mean, like I said, you can kind of run guys off into the boards. You just can't like finish the check. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't just smoke a guy. Definitely no open ice hits, but yeah, I mean, there's some funky things that can happen. Obviously, like with any sport, you can get hurt, but I mean, for the most part, you're not seeing too many injuries.
Yeah,
So-
Nick talked about it on the show, I think, or maybe I don't even know if you brought it up on the show, but then Nick was like, "Oh, did Pat tell you about the other night?" And he got like,
Oh yeah,
Sandwiched?
yeah,
yeah. So I play defense, but I'm more of an offensive-minded defenseman. So I picked the puck up and was trying to Bobby Orr it, taken from end to end, and came in on 2 defensemen, and I went to split them. Well, there was a third guy kind of coming in this way. Well, these 2 guys pinched, and I got between them, but they like spun me around, and so I was skating backwards, and I ran into the third guy coming in, and I like Henry Rowan Gardnered it from what was that movie, Little Big League, whatever.
Oh, Rookie of the Year? Right?
Rookie of the Year, yeah. And
Where he
came-
breaks his elbow?
yeah. So I mean, like, I don't have the video of it, but everybody's like, dude, you were 5 feet off the ground and you came down and I smoked hard on my arm, separated my shoulder. I was like, oh, fuck.
yeah. Hence the 30 and up
Yeah,
league,
30
with no checking.
Yeah, way to prove me wrong.
Yeah. No checking that. That
Yeah,
was
way to prove me wrong.
in the 5 years.
Sounds like a lot of injuries. No, not at all.
In the 5 in
Last week, I separated my shoulder.
in the 5 years that I've been since I've started playing again.
Yeah.
That was the only time.
Well, if it was 40 and up, it'd probably be different. I quite literally was standing fully erect, straight up, and looked down. And I guess this position isn't a position I typically do, just to make sure I'm buttoning my pants correctly, and hurt my back. This is like 4 weeks ago, and I'm fairly physically fit. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not like peak physical condition, but I'm whatever. So like to the point where like I heard a loud pop. It was center of my back. I immediately laid on my bed, fetal position on my back though, and like rotated my hips to make sure I wasn't paralyzed. Because I was like, why would that have hurt so bad and sounded so loud? Like,
Yeah.
what just happened?
Yeah, what did I do?
Like it was just my spine was not used to that, so there was like air in there, and it was like,
Mm.
and it was just terrifying, really.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
So I was like, did I just paralyze myself from the
Yeah.
waist down by
Just
trying to put my pants
Button
on?
my pants. Yeah.
It's amazing how the body wears down at once you hit 30. I mean, definitely-
33 is when they say you stop like developing new molecular structure in your body.
Oh, shit.
Okay. Well,
2 more years.
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I have to stretch for a while before I do any activities now, or before, I mean, I remember especially baseball, like, hey, you gotta get hot. You gotta get hot quick. So you like do a couple calisthenics and you're on the mound throwing
Yeah.
as hard as you can with, as quick as you can. So, but now there's no way in hell. Like I'm having to stretch for like an hour before I want to do anything.
Yeah, wait until you hit 40s, man. I'm 41 this year. Like a low toilet makes me feel like I should probably do some stretching before I sit down. Like, I don't know. That thing looks pretty close to the ground. I want to check my hammies before I get on there.
Make sure those hip flexors
hip flexors
are
are
loosened
warm.
up.
Yeah, I rode a bike recently with my son, and like I've been riding fairly regularly now, and my literal, I could feel it. My ball joints and my hips, both of them were hurting because I was rotating them
Yeah.
different the way than I had in years. And I was like, man, my hips hurt.
Yeah.
Both hips.
Both? Both of them?
What in the hazy?
Yeah, yeah. I'm worried about that because my dad's had both of his hips replaced. So I'm like, fuck, is that like a
Genetic thing?
genetic thing, and that I'm gonna be dealing with hip stuff? But then also think about all the fucking shit that I put my body through with baseball. People don't realize it, but it's not it's not like physical, like you're not hitting or but like the
You have less
strain-
cartilage
the,
left. than
the
the
strains
average
you
man.
put on your joints are
Yeah.
insane. Like I know that if I try to go and snap off a slider or a curveball right now, my elbow's gonna blow up. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I can still pick up my kids. But
Yeah.
that was like the biggest thing. I was like, I always want to make sure that I can at least pick my kids up when they're young from baseball, just because I know that the wear and tear, I like the joints stuff and the ligaments and all that. That's where you're seeing guys in baseball get fucked up.
Yeah. Be prepared to pick up when they're older too. My 9-year-old is teetering on 90 pounds and still expects me to carry him in when he falls asleep. He'll sit on my shoulders. Like
Really?
As of recent, he still sits on my. You've seen how
He's big.
large he is.
I
He's
thought
on
he
my
was
shoulders.
12.
Yeah, he looks ridiculous on my shoulders. But his brother did the same thing.
Really?
When his older brother was little, I remember that at one point I had called
Were
his
they-
mom.
Were they similar in like size when your oldest was his age? 'Cause your oldest is a pretty good sized kid too.
Yeah, but he's probably
College
done.
football,
He's
Yeah.
like my size.
Yeah.
Little dude's probably gonna be the biggest of all of us.
Yeah.
His mother's stock is larger.
Gotcha.
She has 8 older brothers, and they're all larger than me.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Like the smallest one is your size,
Okay.
and you're probably 3 inches taller than me. I'm
So-
6'2".
Yeah, I'm 6'3".
If I
So,
stand fully erect,
yeah, I think I'm about similar in height, a little
you,
taller,
are, you seem taller.
a little tall, maybe a little bit, but not much.
It's because your broader shoulders.
That could be it too. A little wider.
But yeah, I think her shortest brother is like 6'4".
Okay.
Shit.
So he'll be a big dude,
Yeah.
and he's stockier than his brother. Like he's dense.
Yeah.
Like a dying star.
Yeah. That's how my youngest is. My youngest is very, very thick.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's built like I am. My oldest is built like my ex-wife.
I'm thinking about him like a little gold brick.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't look that heavy.
No.
Pick his ass up.
Oh, for sure. They're the same. So my oldest is probably got 4 or 5 inches on my youngest,
Mhm.
height wise.
Mhm.
But my youngest weighs more than my oldest but like not by much, by like 2 or 3 pounds. But when you go to pick him up, you swear he's like 20 pounds heavier than Connor. Just
Really?
because of how dense
Yeah,
he
his
is.
density.
He's just dense.
Yeah, body. Yeah, people just feel different. Like the way people are built.
Yeah.
It's just wrestling and stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of people just have different feels. Like when
Yeah,
you pick
little
them up.
man's stocky. Like
Yeah.
when I boxed it. That's something I did when I was younger.
Okay.
190.
Okay.
Right. And right now I'm probably 197, 196. Last month, put on some holiday party weight.
Mhm.
And so I've been cleansing lately, but hence this is my breakfast this morning. Shout out to
I love
Fairlife.
these. Oh, dude, I got a bunch of them in the fridge upstairs.
Yeah, well, they're expensive. It'd be
They are.
great if they would sponsor one of our shows.
Yeah. Hey, that's how we got in Rome.
That's how we got
So-
the road coming. Yeah.
So, yeah, the density thing is real. Children.
Oh, absolutely.
But, that was what I was going to say. My older one used to call his mom at one point. I was like, hey, if you take him to the pediatrician before I do, have him check out his knees. And she's like, why? He was probably like 6. I was like, because every time we're out somewhere, he's like, pick me up because my knees hurt. It's like, Corey, he walks with me everywhere. He's playing you for a fool. And you're buying into it. And I'm like, well. I guess whatever. So like at 9, still Tyson's like, sometimes he'll be like, Dad, can I get on your shoulders? I'm tired. Or he'll be like, he's like, it's really hot out here. Can I get on your shoulders? We'll be at the zoo or something. I'm like, what do you think adding 90 pounds to my neck's going to do? Like, if you're hot, I'm
Right.
hot. Right? Like, look how small you are. Like, you think I'm not sweating my balls off? Yeah, jump on my neck, 90-pound
Yeah.
kid. So I let him.
Right, of course. Of course.
Put on a 90-pound
As-
necklace.
As dads, that's what we do.
Yeah.
So I got like a rucksack where all the weight's just around the bottom of my neck.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of prawning?
Uh-uh.
It's hilarious. So it's like it's really relevant once you know, because you know how like when you get a prawn, it's like this, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like office prawning. So like we spend so much of our time like
Yeah.
on the computer, like doing this
Hunched
or like
over.
reading our phone at night like this. Next one. And so they call it prawning now. And I often think of that 'cause when I'm driving, I'm like this too. And so like whenever I catch myself, I'm like,
Shoulders back.
Shoulders back.
Yeah.
Head back.
and so
Engage the core.
yeah, I'm going to lose us a potential sponsor by this one because I was talking to Scott at the club, and I was like, "Hey, I want to get one of those things that pulls your shoulder. Work on it." He goes, "Okay," He goes, "but think about this." He's like, "If that's doing all the work, think you'll be permanently that way, or it's just going to work while it's on?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, strengthen the muscles." Now I'm just trying to strengthen these muscles, but I don't have a perma prawn
Okay.
Yeah.
like a dinosaur, like a stegosaurus
Yeah.
looking for food in
T-Rex.
prehistoric jungles.
Yeah.
So speaking of the club, how did you get set up and hooked up with the club?
I was working with a couple different organizations that were in the club. So
Okay.
originally I did some work with the Hero Network. Still help them out whenever I can. I like that organization a lot.
Cool.
And then Reed and I had the events thing. And so Metzner, who's the head of the Hero Network, and Reed were both essentially members, like from the jump. So I was at the soft opening.
Gotcha.
And I was there all the time. And Scott's like, "Hey, you're here an awful lot. When are you going to join?"
Right.
And I gave the cardinal rule wrong answer, which was when I get a few more clients. He's like, no, that's not what and he kind of explained to me. I was like, "Oh, that makes more sense. Like, what can I do to help out?" And so originally I came in there to just help out with their events.
Gotcha. And then you just put a podcast studio in, or was that their idea to begin with, and you just kind of ran with it?
No, that was so much more recent. So I was doing my own thing, and then like when our secondary company, Reed and I had, that's how Punchline came to be. So Reed and I had a discussion back in like May or June, and we knew coming down the pipeline we were about to lose one of our companies, and which meant I'm losing X amount of income, he's losing X amount of income. And so I kind of, this was during that whole transition of the breakup and the other thing. So a lot of transition. And I was like, well, damn. So what do I do? So at the time I kept talking to him about like, dude, I want to do production. Like out of all of our events, the most expensive thing that we're paying out of pocket for is production. And I was like, I know that world. Like I can just do it. Not great. Believe me, I'm learning every day. We make a lot of mistakes still on a daily basis. But I was like, I can do that. And Reed's like, no, man, low hanging fruit. Like, let's just book more events. And I'm like, that doesn't, I'm a single parent. You know, I got things to do. And plus I love that world. And so how I came to be with Punchline was during this transition, something kept drawing me to take a walk. And I was still debating doing Punchline, and I had a backup plan. So in like June, I had made a deal with another club member to go in and do account management for him and a good base salary, like make a good living, like one that I wouldn't have to worry about stuff, right? Like not wealthy, but certainly very comfortable, with potential to grow. Great opportunity. And, but I kept getting urged to go for this walk, and I went on this walk, and I was praying while I was walking, like with my hands out. And I was like, God, like I'd never really ask you for a sign, even during the breakup, which is when I really wanted to beg him for things, right? Like, why? I was like, if I'm supposed to start and do this production company, like, please give me a sign. And like instantaneously, how are we doing battery?
Oh, we're good. I'm just checking.
We're going to work on this battery thing.
Yes, we'll just figure that out.
I got a little insider info from my brilliant partner, Sam. And I thought somebody threw something in my head, and I looked up, and a red winged blackbird had flown down and pecked me dead in the center of my head.
No way.
Like almost instantaneously after I'm asking for a sign. Like no joke.
Mm-hmm.
Scientifically, I'm too close to a nest, probably. Right.
Sure.
Not the first time this bird's probably attacked somebody. Coincidentally, it was a sign from God for me. And so I immediately like called Reed or text them or whatever. I'm like, dude, birds pecked me in the head when I'm asking for this, and like my connection. I love nature. And so that was the thing. And then like a little while longer, we're talking about mentors. So later in my life, I have a mentor that I still have, and we have lunch at least once a month together. Fantastic dude, amazing guy, Pat Queenson. He's very paternal, advice, just a good friend and whatever, and just a good dude. And so I'm telling him this story, and we're at lunch, and like he's like, yeah, maybe we should do that. Because for 30 years, I've had this in my pocket, and I carry it around everywhere I go, and it gives me a lot of peace to put this in my pocket when I put my wallet, my keys, and everything else in. And I want you to have this. And he puts his hand on the table, and he lifts it up. It's this little wooden cross. And so I still keep every day. I put this in my pocket. This is always with me at all times. And it's worn down probably from him rubbing it, but I rub it sometimes too. Like I'm thinking about something or just whatever. So I carry this around, and all these things were kind of adding up over 2 weeks where I'm like, dude, this is the final piece. Like, what's going to push me over the edge to start this production company? And initially I was like, I want to do a show because I'm so heartbroken right now. Like, it's hard for me to get up in the morning time. And this is where I start my daily routine. All this starts coming into place in one kind of foul swoop, because this is like June of this year, right? And so the realization of how to do things daily routine wise came from one of my neighbors. My son and her son had gotten into something, and she like followed him into the house. And I was so embarrassed when she walked into my house unannounced, which I was also upset about, because it was cluttered in there, right? Like, it wasn't filthy. Like, I don't have like dirty dishes and stuff, but there's Nerf darts and like Legos on the coffee table, and looks like two
like my house
12-year-olds.
upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah, but except a 9-year-old and a 40-year-old looks like two 12-year-olds live there. And so they're like, I was like, man. So I got embarrassed. So I started cleaning my house a little bit. And the next day, I was like, I'm gonna clean my house at the same time. So like day 7, my house is pretty clean to the point where I'm wiping down baseboards that had clearly never been wiped down, at least since I lived there. And then I'm like, oh, I have a little more time. So I started adding things to my routine. That's where that came from. The idea behind that is that once my house was clean, that's why I started adding stuff to my other routine. It's because I had a feeling of comfort when I came home. I was comfortable in my own space, and I was no longer embarrassed to invite people into my space. And it was peaceful. It was calm. And so I thought, man, if I could clean out a little bit of my brain every day, a little bit of my heart every day, a little bit of my emotional awareness every day, then my mind, my body, my spirit, my emotions are going to provide a clean, safe space for me that I'll be comfortable in, and a place for me to invite others into, where I can give my son a safe space that's total body, mind, and spirit, where I can give a partner a safe space to live in, provide for them a safety and sturdy consistency, right?
Yeah.
I can provide you a safe place. So that's where that came from. So the final push on doing the production company was I called 2 of my buddies that were going through some stuff. JT, good dude, real good dude. JT Thomas, he had a kidney transplant 7 or 8 years ago now. So I'm like, man, you're on your deathbed. Like, what kept you going? He talked to me about it. He talks about it on my first episode of Mental. My other buddy was going through a divorce. Like, I was getting off of it. And the hardest thing that's ever happened to you is the hardest thing that's ever happened to you. So everything's relative. You're allowed to feel that. And you should feel that. So for me, that was the hardest thing I experienced relationship-wise. But my good friend is going through a divorce with 3 small kids, a woman he's been married to for 10 years. And he's still getting up and doing his job every day. And I'm like, damn, if he can do it, I should be able to do it, right? So I had those 2 dudes simultaneously on my show, the very first episode. And it was really just to like talk to like, how do you keep going, man? How do you keep going? And figuring this stuff out. And through that episode alone, I was like, yeah, this is it. And I was like, what's really holding me back? The 2 primary things that were holding me back, which is kind of counterintuitive. One was letting go of the need for affirmation from other people. That was something I needed a lot of because of my abandonment issues, and I hadn't healed yet. So as I started to heal through therapy and self-work, I let that go. And so it might sound like an oxymoron to say, once I didn't care about anybody's opinion anymore, I jumped into the spotlight.
Mm.
But in actuality, the reason I'm comfortable doing the shows and stuff I am now is because I don't care. And I don't care because I'm indifferent about people's feelings. I have an understanding that
It's not going to affect your feelings and your
Right.
emotions. Yeah.
like Jay-Z said, what you eat don't make me shit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like when I think back on it, my success and failures in life have all been directly affected by me, not someone telling me I can't do it or I can do it. So that was the big thing. And then the second thing was don't have a backup plan. Because a backup plan is a safe place for me to fail.
Mm.
So I called the dude that offered me the position. I knew mine was going away. And I was going to start there in September. And I was like, hey, I can't take that opportunity. He's like, why? What are you going to do instead? And I'm like, I'm going to build this company. He's like, what? Like, you have a kid? I'm like, yeah, which means I have to succeed. And so after that show, I did a secondary show next week. And that guest on my show was Kiri Anderson. And she's like going through a lot of stuff, right? She had lost her husband about a year ago now, give or take, of pancreatic cancer. She had a story to tell. And I was like, you should do your own show, women empowerment. Give some hope to other people out there. She's like, how would I do that? Like, what would it look like? Talked about it. She started doing it. This is June now. So I have 2 shows and nowhere to go. And I can't fail. Reed and I are doing Punchline. Take it to a podcast format. And Cam's like, what are you guys doing? Like, Losey doing this stuff? Like, I want to do something.
So
let's
was
go.
he doing a podcast yet or no?
Yeah, he's been doing it
Yeah,
for
I was gonna
years.
say, he's been doing his for a
He has
while,
Cam
I
and Strick,
thought.
fantastic show.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a hockey fan, you're not watching that show, you're missing out. Those
Yeah,
dudes
it's
are
great.
amazing. Strickland's actually Andy Strickland's a Parkway North dude. Real good dude.
Yeah.
Same high school. And he, back when I was at KFNS, he was at KFNS.
Okay.
So he was doing his sports stuff back then. He knows about sports, not unlike me. Like, he actually knows things. So they have an awesome show together. And then just start kind of like on his show, when he had that radio show, the radio station then all of a sudden closes down. KFNS does. And so I'm like, well, shoot, let's get their talent. And so my producer at the time, Joe, was already producing Charlie Tuna's show. So we swooped Charlie Tuna over. There's a big name. And then on Cam's morning drive show, Jim Hayes was on there. So Hayes is like, well, I want to do something. Come on, let's go. Like, so now Hayes has got a show going. So really it's about surrounding what I said. When you're walking your purpose, you're surrounded by people that want to see you succeed and want to be successful and want to jump on board with you because you're walking a true purpose, just being consistent. It's comforting to people. And I'd like to think that I've tried to make, and believe me, it's a daily struggle. There's never, if you're resting on your laurels, you're losing out. But I'm going with the flow, right? So the analogy I like to think of my brain is that I've got to do the work. I've got to row my canoe, and I can hang out on the left bank, the right bank. I can stay in the middle. Sometimes I got to stop off and camp. But I'm never going against the current. I'm never worried about where the river ends. Because in life, the end of the river, like my buddy Enzo put it this morning, is a waterfall. It's death. You're never going to get to the end of it. You got to put in the work every day. You can't fight the current. You just got to let it flow. The right stuff comes and it's meant to be. So I learned when to let go, when to push hard, what to accept from the universe. And that overall mindset, habits, daily living, has helped take Punchline to where we're going into 2025 with 20 shows.
Dude, incredible.
It was 6 months. July 23rd is when I created the LLC of Punchline Productions.